Good day, class. The last topic which we have discussed was all about the firefighting equipment. That topic was given to you as a task and as a part of your first monthly examination. So, to furthermore add to the topic, I would like to discuss about fire hazards, and the nature of fire itself. So I'll be using a whiteboard to write. Galing baliktad ng igo sini mo. So fire hazard. Fire hazard and nature of fire. Okay? Nature of fire. Okay? Fire hazards and the nature of fire. Okay, class, before we could be dealing with fire, we must first understand its nature and the hazard of fire. And so to start with, since we do expect that we will be seafarer and we will be working on board a ship, let us realize and we must understand that ship itself, the whole ship itself, is a fire hazard environment. Just what I have explained to you in my previous video. Fuel, heat, and oxygen are very much abundant in the ship itself. Okay? The heat coming from the machinery, the heat coming from the boiler, more than enough to create a fire. Okay? Fuel. If your vessel, for example, is tanker, or shall we say downgraded to cargo ship, it is still carrying fuel, okay, for its machineries, for its diesel engine. The fuel comes thousands of tons. You try to imagine that. Thousands of tons of fuel. Those are flammable fuel. And how much more if you are on board working on a chemical tanker, crude oil tanker. That is why, class, fire safety on board the ship is very, very lenient, the safety procedure in regards to fire. And so we try to understand and study the fire hazard on board. We must understand and demonstrate our knowledge and skills in regards to the identification of risk of fire hazard. But prior to that, let us first study the nature of fire. As we all know that the chemicals composition of fire is composed of fuel, heat, and oxygen. Those three elements are the composition of fire. Now, by removing one of these elements, fire will not exist. Okay? By just removing one of these elements, you can remove fuel. You can remove fuel by what we call cooling. It can be done also. We can remove the heat by means of cooling also. For example, there is a piece of wood there burning. Or for example, this marker is burning. Uh, the heat can be transferred from this marker to another by direct contact. What is direct contact? That is through the process of conduction. The heat is transferred directly. Okay? So by removing this marker, because it is already burning, you are stopping the transfer of heat from this object to another object. So that is one of the process of removing heat. Okay? Of removing the fuel, I mean. So once we remove heat, we can also extinguish fire by cooling, by deprivation of heat, or cooling it down by means of water, by means of smothering. But smothering by foam, it can also disperse heat because it is liquid in form. Okay, although it creates a lot of bubbles to be spread in that area, it could also dissipate heat. And by removing oxygen, by putting impurities into the oxygen, you could also starve the fire. Okay, you can also extinguish fire. Okay, I will be erasing this one so that I can write another topic. So after that, I will be giving to you the natural way of how fire exists. I have here is a what we call very common. This is what we call a oil lamp. Okay, or better known as kinke. It is fueled by kerosene. Wala ng gasaw. Why ng gas? But it has a little bit. So, let us prove by this little experiment that we can extinguish fire by removing one of these elements. Okay? So, let me light it. As you can see, because it has a fueled by oxygen, we will try to remove the oxygen. My God, napatay na yun. Electric palabi. Okay, we will remove it by means of deprivation of oxygen. Okay? Okay? So once the oxygen is consumed, it will eventually die out. See? No more. It is no longer burning. Okay? It is because that the oxygen was already fully consumed by the fire. Let us try this again, okay? Patay na yun. Removing oxygen, okay? When it fully consumed the oxygen inside this bottle, the fire will eventually die out. You see? It dies out because oxygen was fully consumed by the fire. Once the oxygen is fully consumed inside of this container, the fire will die out. So, we have already proved one method of removing oxygen. We can extinguish fire. Another method we will try. Let us say we will remove the heat. Okay, once we remove the heat in this burning lamp, fire shall no longer exist. By removing the heat, fire is extinguished. Okay? Let us, for example, say we have proved two ways removing the oxygen. We have extinguished the fire. We have already proved by removing the heat, we have extinguished the fire. Let us say that we will remove the fuel. Okay? The last part. As you can see, this is my lighter. the heat source of this lighter is through this spark. You see? Once the spark ignites, it creates heat, okay? But it has no fuel, fire will not exist. Because this one, when I press it down, the butane of this lighter will start to supply fuel for the spark. And the oxygen surrounded in this room shall be the source of the oxygen. Okay, since this is the fire, and I will be supplying it by the fuel of butane, okay, I will be pressing this down. You see, there is fire. I will remove the fuel. The fire will be extinguished also. So, in this experiment, we have therefore concluded that removing one element, the fire shall be extinguished. And so let us proceed to the transfer of fire. There are three methods that fire will transfer from one object to another object, or from one place to another place. The first one is through direct contact. What do you mean by direct contact? I will use again the whiteboard to furthermore explain to you. For example, this object. Dupi ko yung itsura yaw, is already burning. Okay? And this is a piece of scratch paper. Once this prosperonic class, prosperonic drawing ko, I am trying to draw a matchstick. A burning matchstick. See? We have the source of fire through direct contact. Through direct contact, this piece of paper is what we call, the transfer of heat through direct contact is what we call conduction, class, conduction. Okay? Sorry. Conduction. Lawas lagi ko baliktad so that I am writing it in reverse, okay? So that the one viewing my video could read it normally. Okay, when you try, because I am in reverse using my front camera, I will be trying to write correctly, and the effect is in reverse. You see, tama? Baliktad. My God, because I am using the front camera. So that is what you call a conduction, the transfer of fire through direct contact. Direct contact. And now the other way of transferring fire is convection. Convection. You try to imagine na lang, class, that I will be writing normally, so that I will not be wasting a lot of time. I'll be writing this normally, and you try to imagine it, okay? When the fire is in this area, now the heat travels through. You will observe that this one is already heating up, and then after a while the heat is already heating. If you are holding this area, okay, it's just only a matter of time that the whole object is contaminated by the heat. The heat is traveling through what we call convection. Okay? That is one of the method that the heat is transferred. Number one, conduction through direct contact. And number two, that the heat is transferred through the object, okay? Through the length of the object. And lastly is what we call conduction, convection, and the other one is radiation. So, if the source of heat is here, okay, let's say for example you are creating a bonfire, okay, bonfire, may ka bonfire ka muda, okay, so you are here, someone is here, another person is here, so the heat of this fire is traveling through the heat is traveling through space, okay, until such time that that its full capacity to travel, the heat, the maximum capacity that the heat will travel would depends on the volume of this fire, okay? If you are creating a large bonfire, the range of the heat also extends, okay? And that is what you call radiation. Radiation. Okay, let's start erasing now. Grabe, eraser ko ba? Short pants po? Not bad. I hope, class, that you are paying attention na. If you cannot cope up with the way I am talking, if you not cope up with the way I am, my method of lecture, you can play the video over and over again. So we have discussed the nature of fire, which is composed of fuel, heat, and oxygen, and how fire may transfer from one object to another object, and how the heat is generated from one place to another place by this convection, by this process of convection. And when heat travels through the use of space, it is called radiation. Okay, tingala ka, class, you will be wondering why that the source of fire is about 10 to 20 meters, and then you could feel the heat far from that, okay? Given the distance of 10 to 15 meters, but because the heat is using the space to travel, you may be able to feel the heat energy, okay? Because of the source of fire. Especially in the direction of the wind is going in your location, you will certainly feel the heat of the fire. So we will continue also. So we have already have the overview about its nature and how it travels. So the more knowledge we understand fire, the more skillful we are in extinguishing it. We have already proven on how to extinguish fire. We can remove one of that element and we can extinguish fire. We have showed in our little experiment, and we have already concluded that you can extinguish fire by removing one of that element. So, to continue, ako lagi, hindi pa ko intindiyaw. And so, to continue, fire, okay, class. So to continue, fire itself is not could be used at our advantage and could be used in any application. Okay, fire itself is not totally negative, it's not totally bad, but uncontrolled fire brings disaster. Okay, we can use the energy of fire at our own advantage. Okay, the machineries, the gas or diesel engine, because of this fire, the machinery runs. It kicks the piston, and the piston will drive the shaft and transfer the power through the wheel of our car, of our vehicle. So there is what we call an internal combustion. Okay? When we say an internal combustion, class, there is what we call an explosion going on inside the engine. Okay, just an overview of this working principle of the internal combustion. Do dalom na niya klase, do engineering na niya. For example, this is the piston, and it has a piston ring to achieve compression, the best pressure. We have here the valve. Now we have the intake valve. The intake valve purpose is to generate, to supply air for combustion. When it supplies air, it supplies also spray of fuel. And then there is what we call a spark plug for what we call this gasoline engine. Once there is a spark, it will explode here and the piston will go down. Okay, that is what we call a power stroke, so that it could revolve the shaft. And then when it is pushed back, the exhaust valve will be open to release the waste gas inside the combustion chamber. That is what we call an internal combustion. So there is an explosion, there is a fire which is happening inside the engine. So it is already proven that fire can be used by man in our own advantage. Okay, but uncontrolled fire brings disaster. Number one, we must be able to recognize the hazard of fire on board the vessel. Okay, the source of fire when there is spark, source of fire when there is hot area, the source of fire where there is a flammable chemicals on board. Okay, we must realize that this that fire hazard must be dealt safely. Source of spark, okay, hot object, hot places, flammable chemicals. Of course, if there is a source of fire, before fire will exist, we must already prepare on board the ship class. For example, the welder or the fitter will start to work on deck. He must perform first the safety checklist, which is approved by the chief officer and also by the master. What are the contents of this checklist? Is the place is safe? Is the place is well ventilated? Is the place has steady and ready fire hoses? At any time, it could be used at your own disposal. Fire extinguisher must be in the workplace. Okay? And install lookout. Okay? That is one of the safety precautions. When it is, it could be a source of spark or heat. In hot object, for example, inside the engine room, to prevent fire, what we will do? Install insulator where the heat is very in close quarter. For example, the main engine itself, it generates heat, a lot of heat. So, ang iya class nga funnel, we call that in the maritime terminology, funnel, iya tambutso, it is wrapped by asbestos clothing. That is what category of one of the purpose of this asbestos clothing is a heat-resistant clothing. It will never get burned. Okay? And so, we are installing that one, and the bulkhead, the last hatch should be installed by this asbestos clothing or any insulator in order to stop the heat transfer from the engine room to the bulkhead and may damage or ruin the cargo. Okay? For example, this is the area of the engine room. The main engine is here, the propeller, and this is Hatch number 7. Hatch number 7. In this bulkhead is installed what we call an insulator in order to insulate the heat, to prevent the heat transfer from this area to hatch number 7. Okay? That is very dangerous, class. For example, if we are carrying here flammable cargo, like for example, copras, as we know that copras is emitting methane gas. Okay? Methane gas is a highly flammable gas. And not only the copras, class, ang niblang mga lahing naging dried up, it emits methane gas. And not only the copras is emitting gas, but all shall I say, mga nagakalaya, mga nagkakadunot, patay nga paka, it emits methane gas. Patay nga tao, it emits methane gas. Kakadunot ng mga prutas, it emits methane gas. Mga tae ka baboy, tae ka baka, methane gas. Ang ginakarga na sa gasol na, mga tae na ito na. Methane gas gina-extract, and then transfer sa pressurized na container, and we have methane gas as the source of our heat. Okay, we can cook, so we are using fire at our own advantage. So class, those were the safety precautionary measures that we should do. Hot work permit, preparation of fire hose and fire extinguisher, lookout, we must install lookout, establish fire watch patrol. Okay? If the lookout is not enough, the deck department or the engine department must establish a fire patrol. Fire patrol is being established for the purpose that one lookout will not be enough. Just for example, the fitter or the welder is working in the other space and he have a lookout here behind him, and on this area which is beyond their vision, okay, there must be a lookout or a fire patrol which is going round from this area to another area, inspecting and making it sure that fire will not exist. Okay, class, by the record, reports, survey, smoking, my God, smoking and naked lights are the main causes of fire on board the ship. So how to control this? We must designate area only for smoking. It is good, okay? And you do not smoke in bed. Usually, class, this is the common mistake of some seafarers. There are smoking, they used to smoke in bed. When you smoke, tindog, pungko, hindi lang mahigda kikisa. There are times that you will fall asleep and leaving a cigarette in your finger until such time that you are already dreaming. You are already in your dreamland. So your cigarette fell. Especially, class, ang cabin ko sa last engagement ko is carpet. Wow! It is also will be a good source of fuel. Okay? So, prevent smoking while you are in your bed. Number 2, class. Number 1 is smoking and naked light. Ang naked light, class, when you say naked light, source of heat energy without cover. Okay, prasine. Okay, this is naked light. ang mga suga nga mga wala cover, prasang lamto wala cover, it should be covered. Okay, so that when any problem will occur, it will be limited to that area only, or fire will never really exist because it is covered. Okay, number 2 is spontaneous combustion. The spontaneous combustion, as I have already explained, came from the machineries, okay, which generate fuel, heat, and oxygen. When the explosion, we call that internal combustion, it creates fire inside the machinery, not outside. It is controlled fire. And why it is the second in the list? It is because of the common mistake of the seafarer, especially the oiler or the wiper or maybe the engineers. They are leaving oily rags. Okay? Because it is according to their work routine that they will keep on maintaining their engine, wiping any oils, grease all around that area, and they left that rag hanging near the source of the heat of the engine until such time it generates the a large amount of heat that it could cause fire to exist. Okay? And number 3 class is electrical. Faulty, worn out wirings is also a source of fire on board the ship, but it ranks in the 3rd place. So in the 4th place is radio transmitting antenna. How? The antenna itself is the source of heat. You try the basic experiment. You have a handheld radio, remove the covering of that antenna and try to make a call by pressing the PTT button. PTT, press to talk button. You talk as much as you can, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes is enough to generate heat. And the antenna, uncovered antenna, try it to put that somewhere in your hands, not in your face. Ay, muna lang yung pambato, tagubon nyo pa. Okay, in your hands, you will really feel the heat of that antenna. Radio transmitting antenna at the fourth place. And the 5th place is flammable liquid. Okay? So, what to do? Do not smoke in bed. Okay? That is the main point. No naked light. All lighting system must be covered. No naked light must be covered. It must be marine type. Okay? And the 2nd place is the spontaneous combustion, the machinery, the engine place, the engine department. The 3rd place is electrical. The electrician or any one of you which has a concern of your safety of your vessel and to yourself as well also. If you saw any worn out wirings, you report immediately to the person responsible of that, the electrician. And because of our vessel is brand new, we have no electrician. But the one performing the status is 3rd engineer. Report that immediately. I am lecturing about the prevention and as well as the main source of fire on board a ship, radio transmitting antenna. Radio transmitting antenna. As you see, class, in order to prevent from transferring the heat of the transmission of the antenna, because usually on board a ship, we do use the radio a lot of times. Okay? So the antenna is positioned somewhere it could not be reached. It is placed aloft. So that's why it ranks 4th. Okay, 4th place, sir. Okay, talagsa lang ulo katabo. Very rare. And the 5th, dapat 4th ni ang flammable liquids. 4th ang antenna, but I don't know if antenna gid or extreme or mainly sa iyang wirings. So the 5th place is flammable liquid on board the ship. We have the fuel. The fuel of the machinery of our vessel. It could be fueled by gasoline, it could be fueled by diesel, okay? Solvents, aceton. Hindi ka pa manicure sa barko, may aceton ba? Aceton, alcohol. Alcohol, yes, it could be. Medically. Medical alcohol, it could be. Degreaser, yes. It is labeled degreaser, pero baho do kerosene man. Okay, ang mga flammable solution. All of these are flammable solution. Paint thinner, acrylic thinner, grabe. It is a very, very strong solvent, no? Simutan, ma-high ka man, thinner, the thinner alone. So, ang safe practice, we will proceed, class, to the safe practice on board the ship. Number one, class, in order to prevent fire, is proper cleanliness. Although your vessel may be clean, but it is not proper, it could be fire hazard. Okay? Well arranged ang barko, ang mga property nyo, mga tools nyo, well arranged. Pero does it wait naman sa salapit sa source of heat? Okay? Proper cleanliness. Next one is the proper stowage arena. You stow your tools, everything on board the ship in a proper way. Okay? You must prevent the heat to transfer from that area to another area by means of proper stowage. Okay? Follow the fire prevention measure being installed in the ship by the use of visual aids, may mga sticker, may mga notice dyan, to remind us always and every day, be safe. Let us prevent fire. All around the vessel, you may see that as a reminder for us to be safe. Safety first. My God, you are surrounded by a hazardous area, the vessel, and the reminders are everywhere, even in your cabin. That is good to remind us every time. Fuel transfer safety plan must be followed at all costs. Okay, when class, this is what we call for example, bunkering. Okay, you are taking in fuel for your machinery. This is very, very dangerous because this is fuel, this is a flammable substance, flammable liquid. By the use of poster, by the use of visual aids to remind the seafarer of the safety procedure in order to prevent fire. Okay, to familiarize firefighting equipment, I have here 10 examples of firefighting. When we say firefighting equipment, it has the capacity to extinguish fire. So, in accordance to my experience, I have never, although it is in the book class, that they were included in firefighting equipment. My God. Okay? So, I gave here 10 examples. Fire dampers, no? Fire dampers, they are used to starve the fire of oxygen. For example, and they also use to ventilate the area with oxygen. Give and take. So for those who cannot understand the fire dampers, so for example, this area, this very space, okay, of your vessel. So we have here may area bisagra, hinge. So when this area is already on fire, you have to close the door, close the fire damper. But this fire damper is also used to ventilate the space in order to supply oxygen. But when fire exists in this area, you may close this and will function as fire dampers. Okay? Fire dampers, it could be because it has the capacity to prevent the spread of fire. Fire pumps. Fire pumps class, it could be electric motor or it could be a mechanical motor. Mechanical powered by gasoline or diesel engine for as long as it is being implied for the main purpose of firefighting. Okay? But on board the ship, the fire motor, which is designated for the main purpose of firefighting, is being used in some other operation, but that would totally depends on the discretion of the chief engineer. Okay? It is because that this fire pump is not always working at all the time. Its main purpose is just only for tests during the fire drill, for the inspection in the port. So sometimes the fire pump motor is being used in some work. Okay, so I will explain to you this one. This is just only an example of fire motor class. And this is turning here. Tapos class, inside, there is an impeller. Yung propeller, gamo niya class. So, sa may electric fan. Ang iyan niya blaze ang impeller, sideways. Ara diya, gamo na. Pinggan, tapos may gatindog nga. Duga letter S, duga curve na siya mga klaso. Okay, then it will supply water here. It will pump in water. So there must be something nga magpatiyog sini. There is some mechanical source or electrical source that the impeller must turn, okay? It could be mechanical, it could be electrical. Either way, as long as its main purpose is being served. Fire pump, okay. Okay. Fire hose and fire nozzle. No need to explain that, but you try to imagine kasi this is the fire hose. There are different types of fire hose, and attached to it is the nozzle. The nozzle is being attached at the tip of the fire hose in order to achieve or to produce pressure or to produce good pressure or by spray mist. Okay? So that is the purpose of the nozzle. And there is an eye. We have here the fire hydrant. Fire hydrant class. For example, this is the main line. The main line. It is painted in red. It is painted in red color to represent the fire line, and this is the fire hydrant. Whoop, whoop. And this is the valve. Okay, you may attach it here. This is the supply of the water. We have here hose. That is what we call a fire hydrant. Okay, check. Fire extinguisher. In my previous video, I have explained to you the usage and the types of fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher are pressurized container which look like this, like that. The label. Okay, you release the safety pin, aim the nozzle at the base of fire. This is the base of fire. Then squeeze the lever. and the fire extinguisher will be activated. And then, fireman's outfit. My last video, when I was lecturing in the TC, BMA Training Center, there was a fireman's outfit, fireman's boots, fireman's helmet. They are not ordinary helmet, they are not ordinary jacket, they are not ordinary trousers, but they are specifically designed for firefighting. Okay? And shore connection. Plus, in the absence of the fire pump on board the ship, we can still fight fire by using the supply in the shore. For example, we are docking at a certain port. We don't have the capacity to use our fire pump. We will use the shore connection. The shore connection, this is a flange. Normally, the flange is, it could be 5 holes, 6 holes. Okay? Amo ni sa klas ha. Kapsara, daya connection daw sa punta o. Muna o. Okay ha? Muna siya. Tubo ni siya. Flange ni siya. Flange. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, in my drawing, we have 6 holes. Flange, okay? So, sa shore connection, how can we know that our flange can be adaptable? We have to use our shore connection so that we will not have any difficulty to determine that this flange is in use. Because it is open here, open. Any size of the flange in the shore connection can be used. Open mo na di. Open. So that is the use of the international shore connection. Then we will have a supply of water. Okay? I-attach na to sa hydrant to sa shore. May mga hydrant sa shore, makita mo na kung din sa plaza, sa Balbulay, Dabio. Kung din lang sa city streets ang Bacolod, may fire hydrant na da. Naan. Naan. Para da iya plans. Harap mo da iya mga bolt na nakasdidi na mga tuktukon na gani. At ini siya, salpak mo na siya, regardless of the size of this one, the shore connector can be adapted to any size of the shore fire hydrant. Okay? That is for today. I hope you have learned something. And by Monday class, we will be celebrating the Teacher's Day. I don't know if we have classes or not, and yet I will be determining on that matter. And at the same time, I will be announcing that if there will be a class or if there is a class. Okay? As far as I know, we will be celebrating the Teacher's Day and there will be some food preparation. If you have a chance, you can visit the school. Okay? That is not an invitation from me. I am not inviting you to go to the school. But if you have a chance, you can go to school. Kita ito kasi sadya ko. Okay? Thank you, good luck, and God bless everyone. Bye.